Imagine a state of mind that nothing can shake. No insult can unsettle you, no event can steal your peace, no chaos can cloud your clarity. Others may try to provoke you, but fail. The world may roar in noise, yet you stand unmoved amid the storm as calm as a still lake. This is not an illusion nor a gift of fate, but a power, the invulnerable power of the mind, a strength anyone can cultivate with awareness and discipline. In Buddhist teaching, this strength does not arise from controlling the world, but from mastering your own reactions. When you realize that no one can touch your mind unless you allow them to, you begin to enter the realm of true freedom. The world remains as chaotic as before, yet you are no longer swept away by it. Others may shout, insult, gossip, but you do not need to respond, because you understand that silence is the deepest answer. Silence is not weakness. It is the mark of one who knows that true strength lies within. In stillness, you are no longer pulled by emotion, no longer manipulated by words, no longer reacting out of habit. You no longer need to prove yourself right, argue to be heard, or resist to be seen. You simply know yourself, know life, know how to keep the mind unmoved, and that knowing becomes the foundation of invulnerable peace. The Buddha once taught, amid suffering, keep the mind free of suffering. This does not mean avoiding the storm, but seeing its nature clearly so that you are not ruled by it. A peaceful mind does not belong to one untouched by hardship, but to one who stays calm through it. When you master your mind, no one can master you. You no longer need to prove your strength to anyone, for your peace speaks louder than any words. The highest wisdom is not in conquering others, but in conquering your own mind. When your heart is no longer infiltrated by the world, you not only live in serenity, but emanate a quiet power, the kind that makes all chaos dissolve in your presence. Life constantly tests us through words, situations, and people that stir the mind. Yet what exhausts us is not what happens, but how we react to it. Most people live like leaves in the wind, one small touch from others, and emotions surge. Words escape before thought. Regret and hurt follow. But Buddhism reveals that true freedom does not come from avoiding disturbance, but from staying lucid amid it. The mind that is not pulled by emotion, that refrains from impulsive reaction, that is the sign of wisdom. Overreaction is how the ego asserts itself, yet the more we react, the more control we lose. But when we pause, observe, and choose a conscious response, we reclaim mastery over life. The Buddhist way teaches that between stimulus and action lies a sacred space, a pause, where we can choose calm instead of chaos. In that moment, you shape the destiny of your mind. For no one can make you suffer unless you choose to respond with suffering. The mindset of freedom from overreaction is not suppression, it is deep awareness. When insulted, you don't rush to retaliate. You ask, is this worth losing my peace for? When facing injustice, you don't explode blindly. You act wisely and with control. When the world grows loud, you grow quiet to hear yourself. The less you react, the more you observe. The more you observe, the deeper you understand the root of all impulses. And understanding is the first step toward freedom. This is the philosophy of calm within motion emphasized in Buddhism. The wise are not those without waves, but those who know how to steer their boat through them. Amid praise, they do not grow proud. Amid criticism, they do not collapse. Amid anger, they still breathe mindfully. They know emotions come and go, but a tranquil mind remains. When you train this mindset, you stop living as a victim of circumstances and become their master. Every challenge becomes an exercise for the heart. The external world may not change, but how you respond to it changes everything. And when you master your reactions, you do not just control your life, you command your destiny. Not every battle is worth fighting, not every word needs a reply, and not everyone deserves your precious energy. The Buddha taught that human mental, emotional, and spiritual energy is sacred, a life force that nourishes wisdom, action, and peace. Yet most of us unconsciously waste it every day on trivial things, meaningless arguments, gossip, judgment, or frustration over what lies beyond our control. Each time we do, we are like someone holding a jar of precious water, pouring it onto dry ground, while not realizing we ourselves are thirsty. Imagine your energy as the clear water inside a vessel. Every time you pour it into an argument, a criticism, or a useless worry, that vessel empties a little more. Then when you truly need that energy for peace, learning, or growth, there's nothing left to pour. That is why so many feel drained without knowing why they keep giving their energy to things unworthy of it. Each time you face a situation that provokes a reaction, pause and ask yourself, is this really worth losing my peace for? Will this help me grow or only pull me down? That question is the doorway to wisdom. Because the moment you start choosing where to place your energy, you also start choosing how to live. The wise do not waste energy on the meaningless. Do not try to prove themselves to those unwilling to understand, and do not search for reason in places filled only with noise. Buddhism does not teach cold indifference. It teaches us to guard our energy as we would a sacred treasure. For energy is the foundation of every experience. When you let it drain into anger, worry, or envy, your life loses its brightness. But when you protect it with mindfulness, you find yourself calmer, clearer, and freer. When you no longer react to everything, you are not weaker, you are stronger. When you no longer need to argue to prove you are right, you rise above anger itself. And when you learn to walk away from what is unworthy, you redirect that energy toward what truly matters: growth, stillness, and your own liberation. Remember, your energy is the measure of your life. Use it like one who knows they are planting seeds in a garden, not scattering them carelessly on barren ground. One of the deepest roots of insecurity is the craving for approval. We want to be called talented good, worthy to be seen and accepted. But the more we seek validation from outside, the more we lose our true worth within. The Buddha taught those who understand themselves have no need for the world to understand them. This is a reminder that peace does not come from others' perception of you, but from the light of your own awareness. When you know who you are, you no longer need anyone to tell you. External validation is the most fragile thing in existence. Today they love you. Tomorrow they may turn away. Today they call you right. Tomorrow they call you wrong. If your mind depends on such things, life becomes a roller coaster of emotions, soaring with praise, collapsing with criticism. But those who know self-validation are different. They hold an inner standard, an inner court of the mind, where their actions are judged by wisdom and compassion. They do not ask, "What do others think of me?" but, "Am I living true to my values?" Self-validation is not arrogance. It is deep honesty with oneself. It is having the courage to look into the mirror of your heart and ask, "Have I lived kindly today? Have I acted with compassion? Have I kept my mind pure amidst the storms of life?" If the answer is yes, then even without applause you feel complete. And if the answer is no, then even with praise your heart knows it must grow. That is the quiet integrity no one can grant or take away. The Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves." Self-validation is the first step on that path. When you illuminate yourself with mindfulness, you stop chasing the applause of the world. Praise becomes light. Criticism becomes a passing breeze, because you understand that neither can define you. Evaluate yourself by progress, not perfection. Ask each day, am I better than I was yesterday? Am I less ignorant than before? When you can do that, you no longer need to seek approval because you have already found truth within. That is freedom. Freedom from others' eyes, from the voice of ego, from the pressure to be loved. Self-validation is the gateway to wisdom. For only when you see yourself with honesty can you truly begin to see the world. In life, what causes suffering is not what happens to us, but how we react to what happens. A careless word, a misjudged glance, an unexpected event, all can stir your mind into chaos within seconds. But the Buddha taught, between stimulus and reaction there is a pause. In that pause lies freedom. That pause is the boundary between being led by emotion and mastering oneself. Reaction is the instinctive act of the ego-impulsive rash, and often followed by regret. Someone insults us, and we immediately strike back. Something goes wrong, and we complain. Emotion takes the lead. Wisdom fades, and peace is lost. But when you learn to respond, to reply consciously, you are no longer dragged by circumstances. You know how to pause, breathe, observe the emotion rising within, and then choose a wise response. The very moment you breathe, instead of react, you have already won. Responding is not suppression. It is awareness, seeing emotions clearly without being ruled by them. When anger arises, you recognize this is anger. When hurt appears, you know this is pain. By looking directly at your emotions without merging with them, you break free from automatic reaction. You are no longer controlled by others or by situations, but become the one who chooses how to act. A gentle word in the midst of someone's anger can end an entire conflict. A minute of silence can preserve an entire day of peace. Those who know how to respond understand that not every situation requires an immediate reply. They know silence can be the wisest response and calmness the highest form of strength. When you react, you give away your power. When you respond, you keep it in your hands. Buddhism calls this mindfulness in action, awareness in every thought, word, and gesture. The mindful person is not led by emotion, but guided by wisdom. Each time you feel provoked, pause for a breath and ask, "Is this worth my peace?" In most cases, the answer will be no, and in that realization you choose freedom. Responding is the art of emotional maturity. In a world where everyone rushes to react, the one who stays silent is the truly strong. They don't need to speak much to prove a point, nor win every argument. They simply keep the mind still, for when you hold on to calmness, you not only master your words, you master your destiny. One of the reasons people suffer is the desire to be understood. We want others to see our intentions, to know our hearts, to recognize the purity behind our actions. But the more we crave to be understood, the more we suffer, because the world sees through its own lenses, its wounds, its biases, its experiences. The same event appears differently to every person. When you try to make everyone see what you see, you chase the impossible. The Buddha taught one who is not awakened cannot see as the awakened see. It is a reminder that not everyone shares the same depth of awareness. Some listen only to respond, not to understand. Some look only to judge, not to empathize. The more you try to explain, the deeper you sink into the endless cycle of justification and defense. Meanwhile, wisdom lies in release, letting go of the need to be understood, and returning to understanding yourself. When others misunderstand you, there's no need to rush to fix your image in their eyes. Instead, ask, "Am I living true to my values?" If yes, then silence is your answer. Truth needs no defense, and time is the most faithful witness. Those with eyes of wisdom will see you. Those blinded by prejudice never will, no matter how much you explain. Letting go of the need to be understood does not mean coldness or detachment. It is liberation from the burden of trying to control others' perceptions. When you depend on being understood to feel peaceful, you hand your peace to others. But when you understand yourself deeply, you no longer need validation. You speak less, do more. You live genuinely instead of performing for approval. Buddhism calls this non-attachment being free from clinging to praise, blame, understanding, or misunderstanding. For all of them are fleeting reflections of perception. Those attached to others' opinions live like leaves in the wind. Those who release the need to be understood live like trees, steady through all seasons. And when you stop caring whether others understand or not, your mind becomes light as a cloud. You redirect that energy toward understanding yourself more deeply and seeing life with compassion instead of resistance. Eventually, you realize you can be at peace even when no one understands you, because you finally understand yourself. And that is the moment you are truly free. No one can escape emotions in life. Anger, sadness, jealousy, disappointment. All are natural parts of being human, but suffering doesn't arise from feeling. It arises from being controlled by what we feel. The Buddha taught emotions are like clouds passing through the sky of the mind. Do not chase them. Do not resist them. Just observe. This is the essence of detachment, not clinging to emotions, not allowing the mind to be swept away by their turbulence. Those who have not trained their minds often let emotions take the lead. A careless word can ruin their day. A compliment can inflate their ego. Someone's silence can wound them deeply. Every emotion becomes a string pulling the mind in every direction, tearing inner peace apart. But those who practice detachment understand that emotions are not their true nature. They come and go like waves against the shore. If you stay still, the waves will subside on their own. Detachment does not mean apathy or indifference. On the contrary, it is the peak of mindfulness. You still feel fully, but you no longer dissolve into what you feel. When anger arises, you recognize, this is anger. When sadness appears, you see, this is sadness. That awareness is the light of wisdom. It frees you from being the victim of emotion and turns you into its observer. And the moment you clearly see your emotion, it loses its power over you. Buddhism calls this mindfulness of the mind being aware of the state present within you without judgment or resistance. When we cling tightly to emotions, we suffer twice, once from the emotion itself, and once from resisting it. But when we observe with calm awareness, the pain becomes only a small wave, arising, then fading away. Detachment is also a profound lesson in love and relationships. You can love without possession, care without control, understand without losing yourself. True love is not attachment. It is allowing both yourself and others to be free. Those who practice detachment love with wisdom, not with the fear of loss. To cultivate detachment, start small when angry. Breathe deeply and name the emotion. When anxious, quietly say, I am feeling worry. Each time you do, you bring the mind back to the present, the home of clarity. Over time, you'll notice your emotional waves growing lighter, fading faster, and your heart becoming calm like a still lake. Detachment doesn't make you cold. It makes you free. For when you are no longer ruled by emotion, you can love without pain, help without exhaustion, and live without being swept into every storm. And within that detachment, you discover the highest wisdom, where emotion serves compassion rather than enslaving the ego. Most people live their whole lives under the illusion that they will find peace once others change, once someone apologizes, once the world softens, once circumstances become ideal. But the Buddha taught, no one can make you suffer unless you allow them to. Peace is not a gift given by others. It is a skill you must cultivate yourself. It does not come from favorable conditions, but from inner steadiness. When you tie your peace to other people, you unknowingly hand them the keys to your emotions. A single word or gesture can rob you of sleep, stir your anger, or wound your heart. But when you realize that peace is your responsibility, you step into a higher realm, one where no one can take away your calm unless you permit it. That is true freedom. Keeping your peace does not mean avoiding life. On the contrary, it means being fully present amid it. Like one who knows how to steer a boat through a storm, they do not wish for the waves to stop. They simply learn to hold the rudder steady. Peace works the same way. It is not the silence of the world outside, but the strength within, no matter how loud life becomes. To master peace, first recognize that the mind is the root of all reactions. When someone hurts, you pause and ask, am I reacting to them or to the fear within myself? When anger rises, ask, am I defending truth or just protecting my ego? Each question brings you closer to the center of wisdom. And in that return, you develop the habit of responsibility, no blaming, no escaping. A mature mind doesn't wait for perfect circumstances to feel calm. It creates calm by choosing carefully what to let in. Such a person says no to meaningless stories, avoids those who spread negativity, and keeps the mind pure like a well-tended garden. Each day they carve out silence to breathe, to meditate, to remind themselves, I am responsible for my state of being. When you truly live this way, everything around you transforms. You no longer get caught in drama, no longer seek victory in arguments, no longer crave to be understood. You choose to respond with wisdom, speak with compassion, and walk away with serenity. The Buddha said, "No one saves you but yourself. Walk your path on your own feet." The same is true of peace. No teacher, friend, or circumstance can do it for you. When you stop blaming and start taking responsibility, you not only rediscover stillness, you rediscover yourself. Because true peace does not exist in the outer world. It rests in the hands of the one who has mastered their own mind. There are moments when a single comment or small misunderstanding can make you angry, hurt, or lose your peace. But ask yourself, will this truly matter a year from now, or even a week from now? The Buddha taught. Do not make small things big, and when things are big, do not let your heart become tangled. The bigger picture of life reminds us that most of what troubles us today is not worth sacrificing our inner tranquility for. When you focus only on a small thread within the tapestry of life, every flaw appears enormous. But when you take a step back, the whole image emerges, and you see that those flaws are merely tiny stitches within a far more beautiful design. Likewise, every failure, every criticism, every misunderstanding is but a small thread in the vast fabric of your growth. If you fixate on each broken strand, you'll forget the beauty of the entire weave. Remembering the bigger picture is an act of wisdom and compassion. Wisdom helps you see that everything is impermanent. What angers you today will dissolve tomorrow like smoke. Compassion helps you see others with understanding. Perhaps they are hurting, afraid, or still lost within themselves. When you realize this anger fades, blame softens, and your heart grows lighter. The wise do not let their minds become trapped in the ego's petty battles. They choose what truly matters: peace, understanding, and life's greater purpose. Instead of reacting to words, they ask, does this bring me closer to clarity? Instead of clinging to resentment, they remind themselves, do I want to win this argument or win over myself? In the larger picture, what matters most is not who's right or wrong, but who keeps a calm mind amid the storm. The Buddha taught that contemplation of impermanence is the most powerful meditation. When you deeply understand that everything changes, joy, sorrow, people, circumstances, you stop grasping and stop resisting. You live lightly, love fully, and let go when it's time. And within that spaciousness, you see the truth: nothing is worth losing your peace for. Each night before sleeping, ask yourself, did I spend my energy on what truly matters today? Am I still walking in alignment with the greater picture of my life? Just a moment of reflection is enough to bring you back to awareness. To remember the bigger picture is to step back from the noise and see life through the eyes of one who understands everything passes, only inner peace remains. When you see the bigger picture, you stop reacting, stop competing, stop overanalyzing. You choose stillness, choose wisdom, choose compassion. And in that moment, you not only see life clearly, you become the very artist of your own masterpiece. In a world of constant turbulence, the strongest person is not the one who wins every argument, but the one whose mind remains unmoved by anything. The Buddha once said, "As a still lake reflects the moon, when the mind is calm, all things become clear." Such tranquility is not born from luck or nature. It is the result of silent discipline, the discipline of the mind. This discipline is not repression, but the ability to return inward, to govern, to illuminate. It is the discipline not to react when provoked, the discipline not to lose yourself in the tides of praise or blame, the discipline to begin each morning with breath, with stillness, with awareness before thoughts turn into action. Those who live with such discipline remain pure amid chaos, like a drop of dew untouched by dust. Discipline is not a wall separating you from life. It is the cord that keeps you from being swept away by it. Amid countless provocations, you choose silence. Amid emotional storms, you choose stillness. Amid endless change, you choose a mind steady as a mountain. That is the strength of one who has learned that peace is not found in controlling life, but in mastering one's own reactions. Each day life will test you in countless ways. A person defies your will. A plan fails. A careless word wounds. But those with discipline do not let these define their mood. They simply smile, breathe, and whisper, "I choose peace." That choice repeated over the years becomes character, and that character becomes the armor that shields you from the chaos of the world. The Buddha taught, "No one can stir the water if the keeper holds it still." Likewise, life can only disturb you if you allow it. When you train yourself to turn inward to cultivate stillness through meditation, breath, and observation, you discover a new strength, silent, steady, unshakable like stone beneath waves. See your mind as a garden. Each thought is a seed. Each action is how you water it. If you sow mindfulness daily, water it with kindness, and uproot the weeds of anger, no storm can ruin your garden. And one day you will realize life still moves, people still talk, waves still rise, yet you are no longer stirred. For within you now lies an inviolable stillness, a sacred space where all noise stops before the threshold of wisdom. To guard that stillness is the mark of one who practices amidst life, not by escaping it, but by being disciplined enough to stay serene within it.